We're going to start the show right now. I want to thank everybody for coming. Welcome to the Crypto War Room, episode 39, crypto market talk and debt ceiling drama. We also have a lot of new news items that came out today that we're going to be covering as well. We're going to be talking about a little bit about the news with Hong Kong, talking about the whole Binance routers report that came out today too. We're going to give an update on the markets as well and talk about the debt ceiling negotiations happening right now, which is very important. With that, I want to thank also our sponsor, chips.gg. They're the ultimate crypto casino experience, offering support for 13 different cryptocurrencies. They're a very generous cash-focused P program, 2,000 slot games, a full live casino suite, sportsbook betting options, you name it. So please check them out. Use that link in the bio for a 200% deposit bonus and have some fun. All right, let's start the show, guys. Can we start with introductions? If Tiered, you want to take us away, then we'll go to Richie, Believes, AI, and then Evan, you can finish this off.
Yeah, sure thing, Paul. Hey guys, I was mentioning earlier that my name is Tiered and gave a little backstory on that. But I've been in the crypto space since 2012. That's when I bought my first Bitcoin from an old friend of mine, and yeah, ever since then I've just been getting more and more involved to the point where every single second of my life is devoted to crypto, and I couldn't be happier. And even more happier that we're here involved talking about this in the crypto war room. We have a lot to say. So yeah, let's just get started.
Hello, everyone. My name is Richie. I've been in the space since 2020 and have construction management background, found crypto organically, just searching the web. Yeah, now I have a couple things, because of the interesting tech. I got a couple ideas in the background percolating. Yeah, happy to be here to speak.
Hey guys, what's going on? Believes Crypto. I am the most believable man in all of cryptocurrency. If you haven't checked me out, you can check me out on YouTube, or I'm doing the funniest stuff you've ever seen on Twitter at all times.
AI.
Sorry about that. What's going on, everyone? Alex, AI Scholars. I got into crypto around the same time as Tiered. Every day is a learning experience. It's a growing space, and like Tiered, I'm full-time crypto.
What's up, guys? My name is Evan Aldo. I've been doing TA professionally for a few years now. Always looking at crypto, traditional markets too, a little bit. Long-term, short-term, you name it. I first traded Bitcoin back in 2015, but never held it long enough to really make too much, but got seriously into it back in early 2020.
Awesome to have you guys. We're going to have a few more speakers joining in later as well. But I'd like to just start off the show with, I guess we'll start off the recent news that came out today. We have two big pieces of news, and the first is that Hong Kong will be allowing, trading for retail on June 1st. You're seeing a lot of talk about this on Twitter. Some people are saying, oh, is this going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event? You just sell on June 1st. So I want to get your guys' opinion on that. And then also we had the report today that, former insiders allege that Binance commingled customer funds with their company revenue. They failed to implement basic anti-money laundering controls, allowed criminals to use the platform to launder billions, and allowed people to trade without any identification. And they specifically allege that CZ knew all of this. So those were the two big things that happened today. And if anybody has any comments on that or any opinions, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think it's just very fascinating how we have
Hong Kong. Look, anytime.
AI. I don't know if you can hear Tiered, but he just started talking. If you can't, try to rejoin and I'll add you up. But yeah, go ahead, Tiered, and I'll get to you. AI.
Yeah, no worries on that. Yeah, I was just saying it's quite fascinating that we have one side of the world that is completely adamant to seeing like crypto get crushed, and yes, I'm talking about the U.S. And then you have obviously you have Asia opening back up again, Hong Kong, and I think that's it's crazy. It's very interesting. I think it's perfectly opportunistic for them to do it. But on the other side, I kind of have like another thought on that. I just find it like this whole thing just reeks of price manipulation. Like I mean, wasn't it in like 2021, like, China and Asia bans Bitcoin again and blah for the thousandth time, and now they're reopening it so conveniently when America is trying to push down against it. It just being in the space for as long as I have, it's like the same song and dance, different year, different coins, but it's the same song and dance over and over again. And we're probably this is probably going to be very bullish, but in a couple years from now, we're probably going to see another clampdown, in crypto, in Asia, and then, in America they might get a reform on certain government agencies and their officials, and then they might be more lax on crypto as well in the future. So it's just, I don't know. I just think it's just price manipulation, just plain and simple.
Yeah, I know you had a hand up. If you want to go ahead, and Evan can go ahead after.
Yeah, I want to echo what Tiered said. It's obviously good news when it opens access to a different market, but I'm with him. A few years from now, they're going to ban it again, and it's going to go down again. I don't see the point. As far as the shady side of Binance, look, Binance has been shady from day one. I don't know why this is coming as a shock to anyone. That being said, I don't necessarily blame him for the AML KYC stuff because, look, criminals, they're called outlaws. They operate outside the law. He can't necessarily oversee everything. Some things are going to fall between the cracks. So I don't necessarily think it's his fault per se, because it's a very difficult task of vetting millions and millions of people, millions and millions of transactions on an hourly basis. I don't think it's possible to really filter everything out purely as quote unquote legitimate versus illegitimate transactions. But people know this. I mean, how many people have sent money to Binance and then, you're left with dust in your wallet that you can't do anything with? When you multiply that dust by millions and millions of counts, it actually adds up, guys.
Here, Evan, I think you wanted to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the thing about it, like with Hong Kong, like people have been asking me about like what my prediction based on it was for the past few days. I think on the macro stuff like this typically is kind of bullish. I mean, let's not forget Hong Kong. I mean, it's 7 million people. It's a significant amount, but it's nothing too crazy. It's not like, the population of China or anything like that. So I mean, if you look at kind of what the charts would tell you in terms of like total three and total two, which are total two is the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin, total three is the total crypto market cap excluding Bitcoin and ETH. Those look overwhelmingly bearish overall. So I think ultimately when you find more bad things coming out about, particular exchanges like Binance, that's going to be at least bearish, most likely bearish for, all of crypto as a whole. But mostly, especially in a year like this, similar, it's an accumulation year similar to what 2019 was, where Bitcoin, Bitcoin was the king. It took, outperformed the vast majority of all coins. You'd probably see that to continue. And, it does seem like in terms of on the charts that we would come down. I've been waiting a long time for Binance BNB token to come down. I've really been hoping that was going to, come down for a while. And we've just been in kind of the same, price for the past. I mean, I'm just looking at my chart. We're at the same price we essentially were back in May and June of 22. So we've done essentially nothing for a year, and you're just waiting for that to finally do something. I think ultimately with more of the bad news coming up about Binance, you would kind of break down. I mean, I do have a technical target about 170 for that token. So hopefully we'll find kind of finally come down as more light is shed on what Binance is doing. And it's good that light is being shed on it, because you can't really have a monopoly. I think one of the main notions people said when FTX went down is like Binance is getting, all this power, all this stuff is coming to Binance, and we just can't have that full out centralization, that defeats the purpose of crypto. Crypto is made to be your own bank, and when you have just that full out centralization, that completely defeats the purpose of it. So we got to be really careful there.
Yeah, I want to add to that real quick that, I feel like there's been Binance FUD pretty consistently over the last few months as well, that, it kind of starts losing its meaning more and more. The news comes out and has less effect on price. But yeah, Believes, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as Hong Kong goes, the most likely scenario that's going to play out is that people are going to be selling the news on June 1st. I don't think there's going to be any buying for Hong Kong, or I don't think anybody's going to be super excited about it. And the reason is pretty simple. If you look at heat maps, and you see where the liquidity is for Bitcoin to make any sort of move, that liquidity is either from where we are right now, it's either right around 25, 24, or you have to go all the way up to 31,000. And we're not going to get to 31,000 unless we grab the liquidity that's available down in that 24, 25 range. So the logical move is for that downward pressure to happen. If we get a reversal, we get upward pressure, and we get, if it starts pumping, it's not going to last, it's not going to sustain, and we're just going to come back down again. So until we grab some of that liquidity from the bottom and get some of those buys in and start building on top of that, we're probably not going to go very far. But when we do, I do think that our next level that we're going to sit at is 37,300. So I think a big move is coming, but it's going to take some big swings both ways to make it happen.
I mean, you guys kind of touched on this a bit, but let's move this into like the crypto market talk segment, and just talk about the state of the market in general. Well, I want to point out something interesting that I've been seeing on Twitter as well, and some of the data coming out. We're seeing volumes are dropping pretty significantly, on chain, spot as well, and even crypto investment funds are having net outflows. So, is this just something that happens every summer as liquidity dries up? Is it something we should be worried about? And then in general, where do you see the market right now? I know, Bleaves, you mentioned that you want to see that liquidity taken at 24, 25 to have the fuel to continue up. Do you feel, what about with ETH, for example? And I can open this up to anybody if anybody wants to take that question.
Well, I'll go ahead and start with that one. I think that whatever Ethereum does is going to be tied to Bitcoin still. We're not decoupled in the market. We see moments where it happens, but until Bitcoin really makes a significant move and we start to see some real money coming into the market, I mean, it's basically been standard so far that the way that the cycles work is that Bitcoin eats, then that money kind of feeds down to other people along the way. Then we go into meme coin frenzy. The market dips. We grab liquidity. We go back up. All altcoins start to pump. We've seen a little bit of deviation from it. So I'm, my biggest. There's a ton of money sitting in meme coins right now, and there's a ton of venture capital that are driving retail right now out of it, and that's part of the reason that we're seeing all this liquidity drying up is what's going on in this meme coin space right now. And I think that I don't think it's going to end, by the way, because it will at some point, but right now, we see Pepe sort of dry up, but we see Refund running up 100 million market cap. We see Bob and all the other ones start to dry up, and then we see new ones kind of take their place. So it's still just bouncing around in this meme coin space until it's time for the market makers to start manipulating.
Welcome, because Bitcoin. By the way, Bleaves, I agree with you on that for sure. Because Bitcoin, if you want to give a quick introduction about you and your organization, and then I can fill you in on the top.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Apologies, we were on a call, but yeah, we're Because Bitcoin. We are a financial media startup company, and we cover all things macro, digital assets, commodities, emerging markets. We host roundtable spaces with people across the industry, whether it's like the traders, whether it's like founders raising money, whether it's multiple projects in one space, building on one ecosystem. We do it all. And yeah, we do have a newsletter coming up, so feel free to check us out. And of course, our tweets are all rapid fire, and we put out like hourly updates of what's happening across all financial markets. So thanks for having me up, man, and apologies for the tardiness, man. We just got done with Bitcoin Miami Week, and yeah, the networking was pretty incredible, man, and all the guys are on back-to-back calls now. So thanks for having me up again, Paul and Tier. God bless you.
Yeah, of course. We'd love to have you here, and no worries whatsoever. I want to pose this question to you, and then we'll open it up to the audience or to the other speakers as well. we're just talking about the current state of the market. I mentioned something interesting, that the data is coming out right now that volumes are dropping pretty significantly. That's on chain, on spot, and even crypto investment funds are seeing some net outflows. Wanted to get your opinion on the state of the market and how you're feeling here about Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah, so if you notice throughout the year, anytime we have like a quiet period in the market, there's always some event that eventually fuels the next leg higher, right? We had the Blur airdrop, the Arbitrum airdrop, and then Pepe, and all of those events seem to like fuel the next leg higher, right? And coming up on June, Optimism does have a major upgrade called Bedrock, and typically whenever something on Ethereum has an update, that tends to fuel us into like the next wave of liquidity to the upside. And I think like I think we're sort of lagging behind the Nasdaq and the S&P, and I think something like the Russell, should it catch a bid and move towards its yearly highs of 2000, I think crypto eventually takes that next leg up. And more than anything, it seems like this movement is a chop solidation to the upside, right? Where it's a mixture of 2015 and 2019, where it's 2015 as far as like chop goes, but it's 2019 as far as like the pockets of volatility to the upside. And I think like going into the next FOMC in June, I think that's what's gonna um, fuel us higher. But typically, crypto always rallies throughout the summertime, whether we dump into the summer and then rally into the summer, or we just pump into it and out of it. There's always some sort of like wild rally that's occurred in the crypto market since 2015, right? Last year we dumped into the summer and pumped out of the summer, right? And same thing with 21, right? We dumped into the summer and pumped out of the summer. So I think regardless, we'll see some meaningful volatility um, on both sides. And I do think, of course, that the Ethereum Foundation selling did scare off the market. But of course, like, given that this market does like to lead on narratives, and we're having some stocks, right, like Oracle, that just hit a new all-time high, and Nvidia, which has just been on an absolute tear, I think eventually crypto catches up to that bid. And I think like we're just cooling off from the recent Pepe hype, which has ultimately just unfortunately died off, right? A lot of these spaces that were tailored towards Pepe, they would have like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people. And now they've just been absolutely depleted down to 200, 150 people, right? And even if you go on Google Trends, right, and you put in Pepe, it's just completely um, died off, right? And when we were at Bitcoin Miami, there was actually like a few ordinals that were just dictated towards Pepe, and a lot of like Pepe type stuff. Like there was even Pepe merch, believe it or not, and they were just empty. They were just completely empty. So um, it was just another like boom and bust, another parabola. Um, but like Doge, right? I think it'll come back next bull cycle. Um, but it wouldn't surprise me, again, like we discussed on the last time that I was here. It wouldn't surprise me if like Pepe were to deplete 80-90% and people just forgot about it and just slowly bled against Bitcoin until the next bull market, and it comes back and surprises people, right? But yeah, the spaces analytics are definitely interesting to look at. So, and I think it contributes to a lot of the chop that we're seeing. Pepe signified like how much liquidity is left in this market actively, right? The ability to basically 1000x a token that's at a few mil market cap, right? So I think eventually we'll pump out of this.
I agree with you on a lot of those points. I just want to add that Yeah, the summer is a great time for major moves because of that low liquidity. So it's like less effort to make moves happen. You're right. It's going to be, we'll see if we dump into the summer or pump into it, but usually some big moves do happen from previous history. And then regarding the Pepe, yeah, I think a lot of people didn't expect Pepe to be a mainstay. I think most people realized it was like a risky investment to make money in the short term. But I think you're right. I think Pepe flows kind of took away from crypto because it didn't seem like a bunch of new retail jumped in, and it was more of just PvP markets of people taking flows from, let's say, other cryptos and putting it into Pepe. Evan, I don't know if you wanted to say something before, but if you want to top of this topic, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Pepe, that I pronounce it Pepe, but tomato tomato. But I mean, the thing about the meme coin is the last time we saw. I mean, I don't know if it's gonna play out like this, but the last time we saw a crazy meme coin rally was obviously where it went up, 20x, and everybody was talking about it constantly. Was back in the all-time high of Bitcoin, October, November of 21. That was Shiba. I mean, obviously, if you look at what happened right there, we crashed 50% pretty quickly. Time before that was Doge in May of 21. If you look at, I mean, 50% for Bitcoin, it crashed about 50% for Bitcoin fairly quickly after that over the next few months. It also looks like similar to 2019, you saw that rally up to July of 2019 for Bitcoin, then you crashed, a gradual slow bleed of 40% into the end of that year. So, I mean, I don't think there's just, Pepe didn't get as much as way less people are way more apathetic now than they were, obviously in the 2021 bull run. But it does look like on the charts that you would have at least a gradual kind of pullback into the summer, into later this year. And if you look at the previous two bear markets, I mean, the last one, the double bottom was essentially December 2018 and then March of 2020. That was the double bottom for last bear market. One before that was January 2015, and the double bottom was in August 2015. So it does seem likely that you would come back to potentially test those lower areas at the end of the year and have altcoins really get demolished compared to Bitcoin. If you just look at total 3 market cap that I was looking at, I mean, that looks bad on all sorts of levels here with technical target around 200 billion. If we can get down there into the end of the year for total 3, that's the time to really get into crypto, really get into altcoins. I think now your best bet really is to play with Bitcoin, just because Bitcoin seems to be outperforming everything. I mean, even if you look at ETH versus Bitcoin or ETH has bled 20% against Bitcoin since September of 2022, and it doesn't seem like that's going to end anytime soon here. So ultimately, what I'm looking at is most likely you will see, somewhat of that pullback. If we do see, like what we saw in May of 21, that summer kind of dropped down, or what we saw in 2018, that summer dropped down, that hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later. We hope, it crashes down quick so you could get some cheap Bitcoin. I mean, you have your 400 weekly moving average, that's going to be around 15, 16K. That's your double bottom potential pattern right there. If we can get to that point, that's going to be like potential for like once in a lifetime opportunity to get into some of these alts. I mean, you may see a Cardano at 15 cents. You may see some really low numbers, alts making lower lows, kind of similar to what we saw in March of 2020, if that does happen. And, we got regulatory FUD coming in. You have the possibility of us entering a recession. The debt ceiling is about to be raised. I mean, the last time we came this close to having a debt ceiling or having the U.S. default on their debt was back in 2011, and the S&P 500 crashed about 18%, 18 to 20% shortly after that. I don't think Bitcoin most likely would crash a bit more than that. The S&P 500 crashes. I don't think we're at the point where Bitcoin's going to completely depeg and keep coming up. The S&P 500 crashes 20%. I could see Bitcoin come down 30 to 40% if that does happen over the next few months, for that solid, second chance to potentially get in at these, 16 to 20K, those areas.
I actually want to bring this topic to you, Tiered, because you had an interesting tweet today regarding your very interesting stablecoin position, which is your Coinbase position, which has been holding steady. I want to get your thoughts on the market. How are you feeling about it right now?
About Coinbase in particular?
the market in general, but I just wanted to bring up your Coinbase position in your tweet today, how it's basically just been steady.
I think you should go outside and touch some grass or some sand, depending on where you live. I mean, people seem to be so upset when crypto does nothing, but I mean, when crypto does nothing, I think it's a beautiful opportunity to stop staring at three computer screens, so you can actually enjoy the money that you create when you trade crypto. So for me, I've just been kind of enjoying life right now. Like if crypto's not going to push down because of X, Y, and Z reasons displayed on many episodes of this show, and crypto's also not going to go up due to, X, Y, Z reasons, price suppression, Gary Gensler, and all this bullshit, then, why are you going to be upset? Just enjoy the downtime and, just be ready for the next move. But regardless to that, let me see. Um, do I think we've hit the top for the year? No, I don't think we've hit the top for the year. Is momentum slowing down? Yes. Due to the outflows, yes. And I think the whole debt ceiling thing is a bit of a scare. And that's not something that we should take, we shouldn't really hold too lightly. It's definitely something we should consider into our thesis. But I mean, I think that maybe FOMC as well as deciding if the Fed's going to pause or cut, and then also figuring out the dilemma with the debt ceiling. I would say we're kind of at a standstill until those two things resolve, and then obviously the results of those two events will determine whether it's going to be a drastic up or a drastic down. But that's just kind of where we are right now. So, I mean, if you're a full-time trader like myself, you should definitely enjoy moments like this when the wind is calm, there's no storm in sight. Hell, there's no giant gold treasure chest in sight either, but it's just be net neutral for a little bit and enjoy life. So that's my take currently.
So take a break and relax. Got it. Richie, you have your hand up. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I see. As everyone is aware, it's been kind of boring in the crypto market, minus all the meme coins and the Pepe coins out right now. And like everyone stated, the FOMC, the debt ceiling, all these financial things that everyone's waiting on. I see crypto getting fairly interesting and exciting coming in this next month. Like Tiered was saying, I think we're going to coil up to make a big move. In which direction, I'm not sure, but I'm excited to see what happens. It's definitely going to be interesting coming up.
Yeah, let's actually bring it to that topic of the debt ceiling. I want to get your guys' opinion on that. First of all, I'll give you a little bit of a primer. We're having currently negotiations happen right now with the leader of the House Republican Party, Kevin McCarthy, and the Biden administration. They've been meeting daily, and McCarthy's saying they don't have a deal yet, but things are could be happening anytime soon. Biden was quoted as saying he's not going to agree to a deal that protects wealthy tax cheats and crypto traders. I don't know why he mentioned crypto traders. That's funny. But yeah, McCarthy signaled some optimism. There's some other people, like their lead negotiator for the Republicans, Graves, who says things are not going really well. So we're getting mixed reports. And I want to just get the speaker's opinion. Like, number one, should we care about this? Is it overblown? Number two, do you think we will default? And then number three, what impact do you think it has on crypto? So if we do default, or if it gets extended and stocks go down, will Bitcoin kind of hold its value, or it follow like other risk assets? And anybody can take that, whoever wants to jump in.
I
Well,
just
let
want
me
to quickly say,
oh,
I'm sorry, please. I just want to
okay.
quickly add this. I mean, my take on it is I think right now we're completely at the mercy of politicians. This is literally political theater. They do this time and time again. They did this in 2011. They it's a fairly routine thing, when they want to show, their nation's citizens that they're actually doing their job and they're not just, picking their nose or something. They're actually doing their job. So they want to showboat. Oh, they want to create this little theater that, a default will cause X and Y Z doom scenarios. But then, and then politician A, B, and C come out looking like a knight in shining armor, go to save the day, and then Republicans and Democrats, they go fight back and forth. All it is a popularity contest to make sure that they can win their election next season. And I mean, I think it's just it's a little crazy to try to play that as a trader, because they're not even thinking about us. They're not even thinking about the markets. They're just thinking about getting reelected. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah, so to
Yeah.
kind of add on to that, I think that T-Bird's probably spot on. Nobody really cares about this debate back and forth about the debt ceiling. The only people that do are the people that are selling magazines and selling newspapers and selling ad revenue on their websites. Otherwise, the American people are not really as concerned about. I mean, we are concerned because we don't want to see a default because we know that that's bad. But at the end of the day, the Republicans are posturing for the people who think that Democrats eat babies, and the Democrats are posturing for the people that feed them, and that's these big banks. And the reason that Joe Biden is siding on the side of, you know, I'm not going to do anything that protects crypto traders is because the banks want control of your pocket, and they don't see it that way. But that's the way that it is. When fiat currency is your required method of transaction, then they have complete control over you, and by proxy, then the banks, the government, everybody can continue to establish their control over your day to day, and they can become the gatekeepers of who makes it and who doesn't. And that's what fiat currency is and has always kind of represented it. Not to say that you can't rise up. You can rise up, but it takes a lot of circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. It's a little different than the crypto casino that we sometimes live in as it starts to develop. So, I don't think there's anything to this. Um, this is just grandstanding and trying to earn points for whoever is looking on your team.
Yeah, go ahead.
Intentions aside, they have no choice. They're going to raise it. In between them raising and not raising, you can play the volatility.
Yeah, because Bitcoin.
Yeah, if we look back at what happened in 2011 when they raised the debt ceiling, we actually dumped into the announcement and then started pumping viciously out of the announcement as far as like the S&P goes, right? So that's what I'm saying. Like going into the summer, you should expect anything, but going out of the summer, right? You should expect the pump, right? So something that can be expected is perhaps like the market thinking that we'll pump out of the announcement, right? So say we retest like 28 or 29, right, or even 30, and then right when the debt ceiling is raised, we dump into like 22 or 23K, and then go on to form our highs for the year, right? And I'm still of the belief that at some point we'll retest 35, 40, 45K. But what happens like leading into that is anyone's guess, right? But if history is any indication, we typically dump right when the announcement is made, and then we start pumping right out of it. I think the S&P fell like 17% right after the debt ceiling was raised, and then we just started viciously pumping out of that. So if we were to dump 17%, let me check where SPX is right now. Yeah, if we were to dump 17%, that would basically have us create new lows on the S&P. But I just think there's been too much money that's been printed over the last couple of years for us to even like retest those levels. And when you have like the biggest put to car ratio in history, and also like I think hedge funds were the most positioned short that they've been since 2011. I think that they're just going to keep the Ponzi rolling, and I don't think we're going to necessarily like have that same volatility in percentage points, right? So those are my thoughts on that.
Real quick before I get to UAI, what about the scenario in where we missed the deadline? Maybe it's like a few days extended. What do you think regarding that? Yeah, because Bitcoin. That was to you, if you don't mind. But yeah, I was
Wait,
thinking like.
can you repeat your question? I'm sorry, man. I thought you went to somebody else, brother.
Oh, you're good. You're good. No, I just wanted to ask you, what happens if we kind of miss the deadline. There's a little bit of time where things start shutting down. What about in that case, right? If it's not a completely clean,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Then of course, then we'll probably nuke then, man. It'll probably be like a Silvergate kind of situation, right? Like we would potentially even retest our breakout area of 18.4 should that happen, right? The possibility is there, but um I gosh, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. Gosh, that's quite entertaining, man. That's quite entertaining. But I think, like, I'll finish off with this. I think, like, if you told someone at the bottom, right, at 15, 16K, that in March, right, a couple of months down the line, that USDC would depeg for hours on end, and Tether would depeg for hours on end, and DAI would go on to make new lows, um, then they wouldn't have believed you if you just said that. Like, we would just bounce at the 2017 all-time high at 19.7, 19.8, right? So I think that, like, should that occur, I think people would be like super scared, but I don't think we would go as low as people think. But the possibility for us to touch 18 would be there. It would, but I don't think it's like super high though. So I think, like, we would just test like 23, 22K, something along those lines.
Yeah, got it, got it. And I'm not saying that's the most likely scenario, by the way. I was just curious what you thought if that did happen. AI, go ahead. Then we'll move to Evan and then Richie.
Tiered, one of the things you were going to touch about was that AI generated video. That kind of ties into what I was going to say, but I don't want to say it before you say it. Do you want to continue with the rest of the hands before we go back to that?
Yeah, here we'll move to that. Yeah. So Evan, if you want to go ahead, then Richie, and we'll move on to that one.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, man, because that is that possibility where if there's like an actual like real serious fear of like the US defaulting on its debt, which, I mean, never say never, anything's possible. It's highly unlikely, but yeah, if it's a few days after the deadline, there's going to be serious fear, serious panic. I mean, I think you would see, oh man, like it would be probably a milder version of March of 2020 of that drop. It's not going to be as serious as that, I don't think, but oh man, I think Bitcoin could easily come back to. I mean, I think 18K would be like maybe best case scenario and that type of thing. I mean, we don't know how it's going to react. Like maybe like I mean, I want to say that it would react. Like I know that it would be in the macro good, like long term for it. You know, we know that kind of how if you even look at the pandemic and then all the money printed, like the volatility is going to be nuts. Like you shot down a ton and then you came all the way back. I mean, I would think like most likely you'd either bottom out at like 16K for a double bottom in that situation. If you're familiar with basic TA, the 400 weekly moving average would give you the 15, 16K. You could even go a little bit lower for like a hard bottom at like 12, 13K in that scenario. Oh man, like the S&P 500, I don't think it probably wouldn't crash as much as obviously March of 2020, but man, I mean, you're looking at least, I would say at least a bit of a lower low, like at least 3,300, 3,200 there before you see any type of relief. And I mean, we haven't seen a significant like crash down since March of 2020. It's been over 3 years now. Obviously, these things don't happen too often, but I mean, if it's going to happen, I think we're going to see some, at least significant drop in the next few months. It would make a lot of sense here. I mean, and the other thing too that I believe a few people were mentioning, Bitcoin typically bottoms out before the S&P 500, and also at the same time, what I think a lot of people don't realize, it usually tops out before the S&P 500 as well. you looked at, we saw Bitcoin hit, what was it, 31K a few weeks back, or was it a month back now? I'm trying to remember. But, and then the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are continuing to go up. Those may follow, and those may see a significant pullback in the next few weeks as Bitcoin continues to kind of pull back, regardless of what happens. I think ultimately, when you have a situation where you're raising the debt ceiling in a situation where the U.S. economy is starting to slow down, U.S. unemployment starting to come up a bit, your interest rates are high. When you're raising it in this type of situation, when you're on the verge of kind of a recession almost, you're getting close to that area, which a lot of people, think will enter. That's where, it gets bad for traditional markets and crypto, I would say. So that's my 2 cents on it.
No, well said. Yeah, Richie, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, either way you look at this scenario, if we defaulted, it's not good by no means. And then printing on the other side is still just kicking the can down the road, which in the long term is not the best scenario as well. If we do print, is there a way that we can get out of this? I do think so. Either direction we go, default or increase, do I think that it could be good for Bitcoin long term? Absolutely. But the only way, I mean, the most likely scenario that's going to happen is they are going to increase the debt ceiling. And the only way I see us um, heading towards the right direction is if the government can actually be responsible with their spending in the near to long term future. Is that likely? Probably not.
Yeah, so AI, you brought up that topic, and I want to quickly just bring that up to the panel here as well, to the listeners. On Monday, we had an AI-generated image of an explosion at the Pentagon, tricked some news accounts, and actually caused a drop in the U.S. stock market. It kind of reminds me, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, I want to say this was in maybe a year or two ago, where a fake account made a meme or a joke that Costco was raising the price of their hot dogs due to inflation, and the stock crashed by 10% or something, wiping out hundreds of millions in market cap. So that was what you were referencing. If you want to go ahead and talk about that, go ahead, AI.
Well, I want to talk about that, but I also want to tie into something else. So, first off, I think we as a species have to start questioning the very nature of reality, because we live in a post-truth world now, ladies and gentlemen. I can take an AI algorithm and feed it Paul's voice and have Paul come in here and express opinions that he never would express. So, how do we know Paul is Paul? This is a philosophical question, but I believe that it is one that as a society we're going to have, because AI is just going to continually get better and better and better. But I want to put that aside for 1 second, because your news ties into a macro scenario that I've been trying to hit on the head over and over again in this space, which is the idea of conflict escalating in Europe. Just a fake video of some sort of escalation with respect to an adversary, right, dropped the market. What if a real one happened, right? And I sincerely believe that the world is a sitting powder keg right now, as far as people trying to look for opportunities to grab lands that they believe is rightfully theirs, i.e., China and Taiwan, or um, Russia and Ukraine, so on and so forth. And we can't factor in the known unknowns, as it were. But if you recall, World War II started with the assassination of a prince, right, Ferdinand. So it's only going to take one incursion of one person into someone's airspace that wasn't supposed to be there, or one city that was supposed to not be a part of it, for, I believe, the globe to get roped into something that could be of another 5 to 10 year conflict. And putting all macros aside, I believe that is the most important indicator of what the markets are going to do. Because I'll say it again, I'll say it in every space. If that does happen, where there is another global long-term conflict where the casualties are high, you can forget about any bull run.
Yeah, Believes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think everybody should probably step back from the cliff at least a little bit. What the what AI was saying is true, but it's been happening since we had news. There's always a country invading another country. There's always animosity between nations. There's always incursions into other people's spaces. We in America used to be the peacekeeper for the whole thing, but now we can't even decide that we're the peacekeeper anymore. We want to leave everybody to their own vices, and there's an argument erupting for that. But this AI generated attack on the White House is not it's not the fault of AI. That's the fault of a lack of journalistic integrity. We have a breakdown not in people falling for AI, but we have a breakdown in people not bothering to check their work. It would have taken nothing for all of the media who ran with it because they saw it on Bloomberg feed because it had a blue check mark. It took a lot of people not having a fucking clue what Bloomberg's actual website is or their news site is in order for them to fail in this type of fashion. That's a lack of editorial. That's a lack of journalistic integrity. It's a lack of everything because they wanted to be the first to the story. And the biggest attack on our society at this point is not going to be from without. It's going to be from the news media, just lying to us about everything. It doesn't matter. And by the way, I'm not biased to say that it's a Republican or a Democrat thing. It's the news. It's the clicks. It's the bait. They all lie to you. It's just a question to which lie you're going to fall for. And that's the bigger problem. And that's the bigger threat than an AI generated image. It's the AI generated image that can be shared. People were sharing all kinds of different fake pictures that people thought were real in 2016, 2017, 2018, leading up to elections and stuff like that. That's us adapting to this new social media climate. And we're not very good at it, but we will adapt, and we'll get better at it as time goes. But I this is a breakdown of journalism. That's all I got.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on my end, but you're cutting in and out a bit. I don't know if the rest of the speakers can hear that. Did you finish up there, Bleeves?
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying that I just think this is all a breakdown in journalism. That's the driving force behind everything.
So, Paul, I actually think it's on your end because I mean, I speak for myself, but I heard Bleeves perfectly fine. And I definitely agree that it was a breakdown in journalism effort.
Yeah, here, AI, if you want to get your hand up, if you want to respond to that, I'm going to quickly try to leave the space and rejoin, see if that fixes it.
Yeah, sure. Real quick, it's a combination of the two. I agree, Bleeves. The articles are not vetted as thoroughly as they should be. But from a journalistic integrity point of view, that went out the window years ago, right? I mean, they just want to be first to break the news. I really wanted to touch briefly on something that you also said, though, as far as global conflicts happening all the time. There is something different this time around, Bleeves. The difference is that the generation that fought for the treaties that established the status quo post World War II have all but died out, right? So people honor contracts as much as their memory can retain what led to that contract being formed. And unfortunately, since the boomers are all gone, yes, the powers that be are no longer the same thing. The changing of the guard is happening from the the king of England, all the way down to the presidency, right? Everyone who was involved in that time frame where they fought and died for those things are gone. So people's memory is gone of what it took to get that status quo. And yes, I do believe that since they're gone, that contract is questionable right now. And yes, I do believe that this time around, we're in a different scenario where some people might see this as an advantage because, let's say, for example, even amongst families, right? When children disagree, the parent will step in and say, hey, you should do this, you should do Y, so on and so forth. But as soon as the parent is gone, what do the children do? They sue each other into the ground, hoping, one defeats the other. It's not that dissimilar with global powers, guys. And I do see the UN's effectiveness diminishing day by day because, we are where we are right now. So I don't necessarily agree that this is just another proxy war. I wish you were right, Believes, but unfortunately, I think it's a different climate this time around.
I want to turn to our, because we're nearing the end of the show, to some of, by the way, the issues are fixed. Yeah, coming back in, totally fixed it. Twitter's been buggy lately. We apologize for that, guys. But I want to turn to some of our final topics before we have to end the show. And the last two that I want to mention are specifically Gemini was reported this week. They reported that DCG failed to make their $630 million payment. DCG is a subsidiary of, I'm blanking on it right now, but it's Barry Silbert's company, I believe, part of Grayscale. I don't know if this is a big issue that's going to happen. We have to be watching and paying attention to. But there's still some of that contagion news from months and months ago, from last year, still occurring. Yeah, Evan, you have your hand up if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's it's nothing we don't really are. It's nothing nobody really couldn't have predicted. I mean, it's definitely tarnished the reputation of the Winklevoss twins a good amount. We're going to see more of this stuff linger on. If crypto does come down, a lot farther as well, you definitely can see other bankruptcies and other things happen. Even if we just make a double bottom potentially, just as more apathy comes into the space. But ultimately, I think for the next, 6 months, that's definitely not good news by any means. And I think, the Winklevoss twins have really a lot of their reputation. I forget exactly what happened with the people on Earn on Gemini staking their crypto, but I don't know what percentage of that they got back or whatever. If anybody knows, let me know. But it's definitely not a good thing overall to have more of these, news articles come out. And it's definitely the thing too that I think it's gonna strengthen here is the notion that Bitcoin is the king right now, and alts will probably continue to bleed against Bitcoin, because what is the number one, tried and true tested way to have Bitcoin? Even there's fear with that with Ledger now, but obviously, self custody with just Bitcoin. That's the thing that's always came up with time, and that has the most respect in it, especially in accumulation years like this. So I think it's a good notion that we're going to continue the general trend, at least for now, at least for the next few months, of Bitcoin dominance continuing to rise. I think we could hit at minimum 54, 53% for that. You could come up to 60%. That's where I'm looking to start getting back into altcoins and more of the riskier stuff. But I think ultimately right now it just tells you, it's the time to get into Bitcoin. Wait till more of these things clear up with the bankruptcies, and even wait, especially we're going to have regulation pretty soon too, hopefully. Well, whether you like it or not, what's going to happen once, hopefully it'll be good, hopefully they'll do the right things overall, and wait for that to come out. And then there's going to be more of I think, obvious notion to get into some of the riskier things, such as altcoins and the more venture capitalism aspects of this. At the same time, I think this almost can be compared, like regulation in terms of in relation to investing in crypto is going to be, I think, in the same thing of the Fed raising interest rates in relation to taking profits on crypto. I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, Believes, go ahead.
Look, anybody that knows me knows my feelings about Barry Silbert. I think he's a scam artist. I think that he is the worst, and brings out the absolute worst in everything that is crypto. I don't proclaim Duquan's innocence in any way, but Barry Silbert and his little group were the ones that were spreading all of the early lies about what was going on, not the truth of what was happening, but the lies that were going on. Because Barry Silbert and his group are basically trying to manipulate the markets to their own gain, and as we can see by these filings, with and I think Cointelegraph needs to go. And at one point I was using them as a news source, and then I started questioning some of the articles that I would see every day, and then I would find that they were bought and paid for by other companies. Like, mixed in with real news is this thing telling me how all of these different things are going on. So if he's missed a $630 million payment, and that's going to cause something further to happen to the DCG, I'm actually celebrating that, and I don't feel bad I do feel bad for anybody who's out money or who's due, and I know that this could cause another chain of events that could create some additional problems. But it couldn't happen to a worse prick, in my opinion.
Tell me how you really feel there, Believes. AI, go ahead.
Paul, I just wanted to briefly say, as much as I'm not a fan of Gemini, their earn program, if you guys clicked on the earn button, the third sentence in that earn button said that there is a chance that you will not get your money back. So to their credit, they were 100% transparent about the risk involved in getting in the earn program.
That's a fair point, and with crypto, nothing comes 0% risk free. You know, even if you look at some of the crazy returns you had for staking back in 2022, 2021, you know, that money doesn't come from nowhere. There's always an inherent risk, and we obviously saw that play out. So I want to move on to just a final little topic here before we end the show, and that is regarding the markets. Actually, I thought of it because Evan was bringing up the fact that, you know, he believes Bitcoin dominance will increase, and I think you also mentioned that ETH BTC you expect it to go lower. And I want to kind of ask the panel here if you agree with Evan's take there, or do you see any, you know, does the new merge upgrade that happened with ETH, is anything changing in its tokenomics or how it's working right now that you think that maybe ETH would outperform Bitcoin, or will Bitcoin always have, you know, that gold type of narrative behind it of storing value in times of trouble? I want to ask you guys that, and I also want to ask another question regarding narratives. You know, narratives are huge in the crypto space, and are there any that you're currently seeing playing out right now? You know, we had the meme coin narrative going on, but is there any ones that you might see coming up in the future, or any ones like even sprouting right now? Tier, I think you wanted to say something if you want to start us off.
Yeah, sure. I'll take this one. Now, this is coming purely from a tokenomics standpoint and not politics or brand recognition or any of that stuff. Ethereum is superior. And I say that having loved Bitcoin for over a decade. But I mean, I read a tweet, I think it was yesterday or today, that 20 to 25% of all staked Ethereum was staked in the past couple weeks. So we have staked Ethereum is going parabolic now. You know, that's locked. That's sell pressure taken off the table. Does Bitcoin have that? And then also the other side of that conversation is obviously the deflationary standpoint. You know, Ethereum's been deflationary. It's gonna keep being deflationary. As we have these little meme runs or any little narrative run, that's only gonna help Ethereum burn and become more deflationary and help the tokenomics model. Bitcoin's still inflationary. Bitcoin is still emitting coins that will be sold immediately to pay for minor company bills. And that's going to be the same for a decade still. So, I mean, for me, the answer is quite clear. But obviously, the market's very rational, and Bitcoin is the godfather of crypto. It's what started it all. Bitcoin has way better branding, way better recognition in the global market as a leader in store of value. Ethereum doesn't have that, so of course I'll give that to Bitcoin. But yeah, I would say that's probably. Oh, also the security topic as well. You know, Bitcoin isn't facing the whole, you know, is it a security dilemma, right? Bitcoin is pretty proven on the global stage and with enforcement agencies, and you know, Bitcoin has a bright future in that regard. And you know, the waters may be a little bit murky in Ethereum's respect. However, yeah, that's just basically my breakdown of the matter. Regardless of everything, I still think the value proposition on Ethereum is at least 3 times better. Yeah, that's where I stand.
Yeah, AI, go ahead.
I agree with Tiered. I also like to build on his idea. First is education. The more education there is in this space, the more likely people are to be aware of Ethereum's superiority. Secondly, is building. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, there's over 3,000 DApps on Ethereum alone. How many DApps are there on Bitcoin? If you're looking at this from a tech stack, forget it. Ethereum is miles ahead. And you know, that is one thing that I think the audience should really take into consideration, which is if there's a black swan event, and you see, 2020 lows or even near 2020 lows, is there a possibility that because we have a little bit more educated market this time around, Ethereum uh, swaps places with Bitcoin? Possibly, in my opinion. It's just far superior.
I want to add, maybe from the opposite perspective, if let's say things get ugly, macro looks bad, debt ceiling issues, et cetera, would you not agree that Ethereum would have a higher beta to the downside and take more of a hit than Bitcoin?
Again,
Yeah,
because
but there's still staked Ethereum, right? There's still going to be more coins to sell on Bitcoin. There's miners are mining it and they have to sell that. People are only taking Ethereum off the table. And the protocol is also taking Ethereum off the table through their burn method. So I mean, maybe on a cultural or hype, not maybe maybe if it was like some sort of like social media frenzy that may cause Ethereum to have a lower beta, but purely tokenomics level, Ethereum just it shouldn't be as sold off as Bitcoin moving forward. And this argument is only going to be more reinforced as AI mentioned with the education standpoint. Ethereum's true value is only going to be realized with time. People need to realize that Ethereum is not going to not be deflationary again. And Ethereum is only going to be more scarce, more used, with all the dApps, as AI mentioned. It's only going to have a bigger network effect moving forward. So, just time will tell for ETH, in my opinion.
Yeah, Evan, go ahead and think AI. You had something you wanted to say afterwards.
Yeah, I agree with all those fundamentals everybody was saying 100%, but let's not forget that it takes time for things to play out. And when you're in a year like this, and when you're in an environment where, people are looking at Bitcoin kind of when the banks are coming down, people were looking at Bitcoin as an alternative kind of to gold. And that's kind of the notion. One of the things, too, is that Bitcoin has a larger market cap, less volatility overall. That's what people are saying is a safe bet. Kind of Bitcoin is digital gold. If you have Ethereum, could be like digital gasoline, kind of. It's a little bit different. We're not quite at that point yet. I mean, Bitcoin, I would consider value investing. Ethereum, there's still, they still got to fix the gas fees. Those are still pretty high, as we've seen. There's still other kind of issues that I think could make it continue to bleed against Bitcoin right now. Obviously, to get major gains in the next bull run, let's be real. I mean, Bitcoin's probably not going to go 10x from where it is now in the next bull run. It's probably, I mean, who knows, but it's unlikely you're going to get above like 200K for Bitcoin, before 2028 or 2030. If you want 10x gains, you better hope ETH is going back to 1,000 or sub 1,000, and you better hope that it could hit, somewhere between 8K to 12K in the next bull run. I think that's really the last hope for other than altcoins, that's really the last hope for just some major gains. And what I'm really hoping for is if we could just continue to bleed against Bitcoin just into a few more months into the end of the year and come back to some lower levels, that's where the real potential and the real money can be made, and all the good fundamentals that everybody's been saying can really be shown, really play out, such as the deflationary aspect and all of that, to bring it up. So that's what I'm looking at for Ethereum right now. But I mean, I'm more of a charts guy. On the charts, it looks like, history will repeat from 2019. ETH will continue to bleed against Bitcoin until at least, August, September, in my view, maybe even later.
I want to add on to what you were saying. It's interesting if you do look at the chart, especially on ETH BTC. It's almost like a 2-year consolidation going on right there. So I feel like when that does get resolved, it will be pretty violent, either to the upside or downside. But I don't want to predict either way that it's going to go. But I feel like that's very interesting to look at. With that, I mean, we have that final question if anyone wants to take it regarding any narratives they're seeing in the space right now. We know the last one was meme coins. Has that dried up? Do you see anything else coming in the future in the pipeline that everybody should be interested in? Yeah, go ahead.
So I'll share a narrative that was very interesting at Bitcoin Miami this year. There was this dichotomy between, the Bitcoin maxis and the ordinal community about if ordinals are a good thing or not. Of course, the ordinal community is saying how it's onboarding new people and it's bringing functionality to Bitcoin. And the maxis are like, well, it's clogging up the network. and it's causing congestion, and it's removing from the gold standard narrative that Bitcoin established. That being said, there was a 900-pound elephant in the room, which nobody really wanted to answer, which is the following: a narrative that I believe is going to play out eventually. If the Bitcoin network can't handle something rudimentary as ordinals, where the volume is not that high, how does it expect to become a global reserve currency or a global reserve gold commodity asset class when volume really goes through the roof, right? And of course, people jumped in with their arguments about L2s and so on and so forth. But you see the narrative that's kind of pushing its way through right now, which is, can it really even handle that many transactions on a global scale or not? Because ordinals scratched the surface of a problem that existed, but no one really wanted to address.
Yeah, Tier, you wanted to say something as well?
I was actually just going to mention something that a previous speaker mentioned maybe a couple minutes ago, was that we're going to be seeing altcoins, I think, from here on until, maybe 100 years from now. It's if you believe that this is a new asset class, Bitcoin and Ethereum, they're too mature. You're gonna we're not going to see 20x gains on them like we did in a singular bull run anymore. Like, the market's too mature. There's too many participants, and quite frankly, the market cap's too high. But that is its own little evil if you really want to see it. But if you want to step out of the whole maxi ideology philosophy and kind of open your mind a bit, I think you can find that there's opportunities everywhere, right? You don't need to have an all-time high, and you don't need to have a 20x 100x to become a millionaire. You can do that very easily on, either shit coins or, keeping your ear to the ground on crypto Twitter and, finding that next cool DeFi protocol that, 5x's, 10x's. That's what makes crypto so interesting, is that those opportunities are always going to exist because human greed is never going away. And people want, people's dream of, zero to hero, nothing to Lambo. That's never going to go away. That's what drives this whole crypto space. That's what makes it so profitable, is because everyone has main character syndrome. Everyone thinks that they're going to make it. But if you just educate yourself and realize that, study market caps, tokenomics, all that good stuff, yeah, you'll find that you just need to be patient and wait for the next Pepe, because Pepe is literally the personification of human greed, and also retail greed, right? Pepe wasn't created by VCs, obviously, and it had a market cap of $2 when it was created. It became nothing into a huge thing that we all saw. So those things aren't going to go away. We're only going to see more Pepes as mature coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum become too out of touch for your average Joe to make it. We're only going to see more plays like that. But also on the flip side, we're also going to see more scams and more villainy, because people will prey on that greed and that those human emotions.
I want to add to that also. You'll see more innovation as well too. New projects with new ideas, useful innovations in the space, etc. I mean, you can just remember from the last bull run, Solana. I mean, I think SBF had that famous tweet like, "Sell it all to me for $2." New projects will come along that will do great work and innovate in the space, and those will probably have a way higher beta in terms of potentially increasing your money. And of course, Pepe's and stuff, and small shit coins that will continue to also dominate the space. With that, guys, I want to kind of close the show. We're kind of nearing the end of the time. I want to thank the speakers for coming. Also, of course, thank our sponsor, chips.gg. Please check out that the link, and get your deposit bonus. Yeah, it was a fantastic discussion, guys, and we'll see you on Friday.
Super excited. Thank you for everything, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Everyone.